If there is non-discriminative knowledge, it is not in accord with reason to say that individual realities exist. Because of mind, there are no individual forms, and, therefore, we speak of non-discriminative knowledge. 113. The sense organs are to be known as Maya, the sense fields resemble a dream. Actor, act, and acting. They do not at all in reality exist. 1. 114. 115. 116–117. 118. 119. 120. According to worldly knowledge everything exists, but in ultimate truth none exists. In ultimate truth, indeed, one sees that all things are devoid of self-substance. Although there is no self-substance, there rises something which one perceives as objective reality. This is called worldly knowledge. 121. If things are regarded as existing by themselves, they exist because of their being so designated in words. If there were no words to designate their existence, they are not. 1. This verse is missing in way. 122. That which exists only as word and not as reality. Such is not to be found even in worldly knowledge. This comes from the nature of reality being erroneously understood, for no such perception is possible. 123. If such errors were granted, it would not be possible to talk about the non-existence of self-substance. As the nature of reality is erroneously understood, there is something perceived where there is really no self-substance. All is indeed non-existent. 124. What is seen as multiplicity is the mind saturated with the forms of evil habits. Because of mental delusions one clings to forms and appearances regarding them as objective realities. 125. Discrimination is cut asunder by non-discriminating discrimination. The truth of emptiness is seen into by non-discriminating discrimination. 126. Like an elephant magically created, like golden leaves in a painting, the visible world is to the people whose minds are saturated with the forms of ignorance. 127–128. 129. As a man whose eye is affected with a cataract perceives a hair circle because of his delusion, so the ignorant perceive an objective world rising with its various aspects. 130. 131. Discrimination, that which is discriminated, and the setting up of discrimination. Binding, that which is bound, and its cause. These 6 are conditions of liberation. 132. There are no stages of bodhisattvaship. No truths, no Buddha lands, no bodies of transformation. Buddhas. Pratyeka Buddhas, Sravakas are products of imagination. 133. 134. Mind is all, it is found everywhere and in every body. It is by the evil-minded that multiplicity is recognized, there are no recognizable marks where mind only is. 135–137. 138. The constructing of appearances created by delusion is the characteristic mark of paratantra knowledge. The giving of names to these appearances regarding them as real individual existences is characteristic of the imagination. 1. 139. When the constructing of appearances and names, which come from the union of conditions and realities, no more takes place, we have the characteristic mark of perfected knowledge. 2. 140. The world is everywhere filled with Buddhas of maturity, 3 Buddhas of transformation, 4 beings, Bodhisattvas and Buddha lands. 141. The issuing 5 Buddhas, Dharma Buddhas, transformation Buddhas and those that appear transformed. They all come forth from Amitabha's land of bliss. 142. What is uttered by Buddhas of transformation and what is uttered by Buddhas of maturity constitute the doctrine fully developed in the Sutras, whose secret meaning you should know. 143. What is uttered by the Bodhisattvas and what is uttered by the teachers? They are both what is uttered by the Buddhas of transformation and not by the Buddhas of maturity. 144. All these individual objects have never been born, but they are not exactly non-existent either. They resemble the Gandharv's castle, a dream, and magical creations. 145. Mind is set in motion in various ways, and mind is liberated. Mind rises in no other way, and mind thus ceases. 1. Generally parikalpita, but here vikalpita. 2. This is the reading of Tiang, but I suggest the following. When the constructing of names and appearances no more takes place in it, there are only causal signs indicative of reality. This is the characteristic mark of perfected knowledge. Both Wei and Tiang here understand Sanket in the sense of union. 3. Vaipakika. 4. Nirmanika. 5. Nisyanda. 146. The mind of all beings is that which perceives something like objective reality, and this mind is the product of imagination. In mind only there is no objective world. When one is released from discrimination there is liberation. 147. Brought together by the evil habit of erroneous reasoning, discrimination asserts itself. Hence the evolution of this fallacious world. 148. Relative knowledge takes place where there is something resembling an external world. Transcendental knowledge one belongs to the realm of suchness. When a turning back takes place, there is a state of imagelessness, which is the realm of the wise. 149. 150. By reason of false imagination all things existent are declared unborn. As people take refuge in relative knowledge, they get confused in their discriminations. 151. When relative knowledge is purified by keeping itself aloof from discrimination, and detached from imagination, there is a turning back to the abode of suchness. 152. Do not discriminate discrimination, there is no truth in discrimination. This world of delusion is discriminated as to that which is perceived and that which perceives, but in reality there is no such dualism in it. It is an error to recognize an external world, the conception of self-substance is due to imagination. 153. Imagining by this imagination, self-substance is conceived to rise by the conditions of origination. An external world is recognized in distortion, there is in fact no such external world, but just the mind. 154. To those who see the world clearly and properly, the separation between that which perceives and that which is perceived ceases. There is no such external world as is discriminated by the ignorant. 1. As to the distinction between Jnana and Vijnana cp.135 et sec. 155. When the mind is agitated by habit energy there rises what appears to be an external world. When the dualistic imagination ceases there grows transcendental knowledge, the realm of suchness, the realm of the wise, which is free from appearances and beyond thought. 1. 156. 157. From the union of mother and father, the alaya gets connected with manas. Like a rat in a pot of ghee, the red together with the white grows up. 158. Through the stages of pasi, gana, and arbuddha, the boil grows. An unclean mass bearing a variety of karma. Nourished by the wind of karma and the four elements, it comes to maturity like a fruit. 159. The five, and the five. And the sores are 9. Nails, teeth, and hair are supplied. When ready to spring forth it is born. 160. When the baby is just born, it is like a worm growing in the dung. Like a man waking from sleep, the eye begins to distinguish forms, and discrimination goes on increasing. 161. With knowledge gained by discrimination, human speech is produced from the combination of the palate, lips, and cavity. And discrimination goes on like a parrot. 162. Philosophical doctrines are definite, but the Mahayana or Great Vehicle is not definite, it is set in motion by the thoughts of beings. It is not an abode for those who see wrongly. The vehicle realized within my own inner self is not the realm that can be reached by dialecticians. 2. 163 to 164. After the passing of the teacher, Pray tell me who will be the bearer of the Mahayana? O Mahamedi, thou shouldst know that there will be one who bears the Dharma, when some time is past after the Shugata's entrance into Nirvana. 165. In Vidali, in the southern part, a Bhiksha most illustrious and distinguished will be born. His name is Nagavaya, he is the destroyer of the one-sided views based on being and non-being. 1. The first line of verse 156 is a part of the preceding one. Cf. v. 148. 2. The verses are wrongly divided here, for this line properly belongs to 162 and not to 163. 166. He will declare my vehicle, the unsurpassed Mahayana, to the world. Attaining the stage of joy he will go to the land of bliss. 167. 168. In the realm of conditional origination, there is and there is not do not take place. Those who imagine something real in the midst of conditional origination say, there is and there is not, but these philosophical views are far away from my teaching. 169. The giving names to all things existent has always been going on for hundreds of generations past. This has been repeated, is being repeated constantly. An endless mutual discrimination is thus taking place. 170. If this designating does not take place, the whole world falls into confusion. Thus names are established in order to get rid of confusion. 171. Things existent are discriminated by the ignorant in the threefold form of discrimination. There is delusion from discriminating names, from conditional origination, and from the notion of being born. 172. The philosophers argue that the primary elements are unborn and like the sky are imperishable. But in reality there are no individual self-substances and the notion itself belongs to discrimination. 173. Individual existences are appearances, images, like Maya, like a mirage, a dream, a wheel made by a revolving firebrand, the Gandharv's castle, an echo. They are all born in the same manner. 174. Non-duality, suchness, emptiness, ultimate limit, essence, non-discrimination. All these I teach as belonging to the aspect of perfected knowledge. 175. Language belongs to the realm of thought, the truth becomes thus wrongly represented. Transcendental knowledge being discriminated by thought falls into a duality. Therefore, transcendental knowledge is something not imagined. 176 to 177. 178. The whole existence is not perceived by the ignorant as it is perceived by the wise. The whole existence as it is perceived by the wise, has no marks of individuation. 179. As a spurious necklace, not of gold though looking like it, is imagined by the ignorant to be of genuine gold, so all things are imagined by those who reason wrongly. 180. 181. Things have no beginning, no end. They are abiding in the aspect of reality. There is no creator, nothing doing in the world, but the logicians do not understand. 182. Whatever things that are thought to have been in existence in the past, to come into existence in the future, or to be in existence at present, all such are unborn. 183 to 184. 185. This world is just a sign, one indicative of reality. Apart from the sign, nothing is produced, nothing is destroyed. 186 to 187. 188 to 189. 190. Existence in its conditional relations cannot be described as unity or diversity. It is just in a general way of speaking that there is birth, cessation, and destruction. 191. Emptiness unborn is one thing, emptiness born is another. Emptiness unborn is the better, because emptiness born leads to destruction. 192. Suchness, emptiness, the limit, nirvana, and the dharmadhatu, the various will-made bodies. These I point out as synonymous. 193. Those who discriminate purity according to the sutras, vinyas, and abhidharmas, follow books and not the inner meaning. They are not established in egolessness. 194 to 196. 197. The visible world is likened to the hare's horns as long as all beings go on discriminating. Those who discriminate are deluded just like a deer running after a mirage. 1 Sanket. See also verse 139. 198. By clinging to discrimination, more discrimination goes on. When the cause of discrimination is put away, one is disengaged therefrom. 199 to 200. 201. Transcendental knowledge is deep, exalted, far-reaching, and perceives all the Buddha countries. This I teach for the sons of the victorious one. For the Sravakas I teach transitoriness. 202. The triple existence is transitory, empty, devoid of the ego and what belongs to it. Thus I teach the doctrine of generality to the Sravakas. 203. Not to be attached to anything existent, truly knowing what the truth of solitude is to walk all alone. The fruit of pratyekabuddhahood which is above speculation is what I teach. 204. External objects are imagined, those endowed with corporeality are dependent on relative knowledge. Being deluded they see not themselves, therefore a mind is evolved. 205-206. 207 and 208. 209. 210. 211. There are 4 psychic powers. That which comes from the maturing of the disciplinary exercises. That which comes from the sustaining power of the Buddhas, that which rises from entering into the various paths of living beings, and that which is obtained in a dream. 212. The psychic power which is obtained in a dream, that which comes from the power of the Buddhas, and that which has its birth by entering the various paths of beings. These powers are not one born of the maturing of the disciplinary exercises. 213. The mind being influenced by habit energy, there rises a something resembling real existence. As the ignorant do not understand, it is said that there is the birth of realities. One read after the Chinese and Tibetan versions. Not Vijnana Vipakaja, but Pijana Na Vipakaja. 214. As long as external objects 1 are discriminated as possessing individual marks, the mind is confused too, being unable to see its own delusion. 215. Why is birth spoken of? Why is not the perceived world spoken of? When the perceived world, which has no existence, is yet perceived as existing, what is that which is spoken of? To whom is it? And why? 216. The Siddha in its essence is thoroughly pure, the manas is defiled, and the manas is with the vijnanas, habit energy is always casting out its seeds.